I've been thinking and thinking about this over and over, and I just got this epiphany. I talked about this already at one of the meetings about I call them the 7 fundamentals of Primerica. And in the 7 fundamentals I'll go over, and I'm just gonna kinda read it to you, and then I'll talk about it. I wrote, "I've been training people in Primerica for 25 years now. I've been training salespeople since 1979, so almost 30 years. I've been training, recruiting, and training salespeople, because when I worked in the jewelry business like Rick, I used to recruit people there too. Back then, we would go out at lunchtime when we needed a new person. I'd go to shopping, like, at all of the stores in the mall, and if I ran across a sharp, sales associate, right, I'd talk to them about coming to work with me at William Pitt. I used to do that. That's how we recruited people. We'd go into those stores and recruit people out of those stores into the jewelry business. Rick used to do it. I used to do it. That's what we used to do. So I've been recruiting people for a long time, right? Same thing, right? What did I sell them on? Because in the retail business, you can't make any money. And the jewelry business is the one retail business where you can make some money. I mean, it's compared to the rest of them, right? If you're working at J.C. Penney's, right, in the jewelry department, you're probably making 20 grand a year. Come work for us. If you could do that, you might make 35 or 40 grand a year, right? So I would go recruit people. So I've been training, and then I wrote, the one thing I see in everyone who makes 6 figures and above is mastery of these 7 fundamentals. Every one of you in here has mastered these fundamentals, or you wouldn't be an RVP. If you're making over 100 grand a year, you have definitely mastered these. You're really, really good. Some are probably a little better than others, but you're all really good at these 7 fundamentals, or else you wouldn't be sitting in this room right now. Bottom line, okay? And so I wrote, people who not only master them, but this is where the separation from people who make 100, 150 to people that make 500 and a million is those people who make 500 million master teaching the fundamentals. So a lot of people are very good at them, but they don't teach them. And the reason that I got big so quickly is I was really good at teaching this stuff. And that's what I focused on, is teaching this stuff that I'm about to share with you, right? And I think it'll make sense. So that allows you to make big money. The key here is mastering them, not just getting good, but master them. I wrote, good is the enemy of great. And if you think about this, okay, what do good professional athletes make? They make a lot less than the great ones, like A-Rod or you name the person, right? Manny Ramirez, who's kicking butt here since he came to LA, right? I mean, he's doing a really great job. But these guys the great ones make huge money, and the good ones make good money. Okay? Think about actors. The good ones, they're on TV, they make a living. The great ones, right? They make a fortune, right? Like a Al Pacino or a De Niro, or some of the people that are really great. Leonardo, right? Another great one. There's some people that are really great, right? Hugh Jackman. I mean, some of these people make big money. The good ones make a living, but the great ones make big money, right? If you think about any sport, right? The difference between Tiger Woods and I just read this. It was an interview with Freddie Couples. Freddie Couples was a really good golfer, had a really good career, won 17 times. I actually played around with him about a month ago at Pelican Hill. A guy that manages some money for me arranged it, so I got to play around with him. Really, really nice guy. And anyways, he was being interviewed by this guy named Jeff Rude. And Jeff Rude they were talking about work, work ethic and stuff like that, right? And they asked him about Tiger, and he says, well, Freddie works with Butch Harmon. Butch Harmon used to be Tiger's coach for several years, won a bunch of majors with himself. And he asked him about it. He goes, what? He goes, I don't even know what his practice routine is. And Butch says, this is Tiger. Tiger would work on his short game 8 hours a day. He goes, 8 hours a day? He goes, not just 8 hours a day, 8 hours a day, 4 days in a row, 8 hours a day. He goes, no way. He goes, yes, 8 hours. I saw him do it, 8 hours a day, 4 days in a row. He goes, I haven't worked 15 hours. I haven't worked 32 hours in the last 15 years, let alone 8 hours a day, 4 days in a row. And so therein lies the difference. You see, right there is the difference. The difference is Tiger's commitment is to be great, and Freddie's was to be good. So he had a really good career. He made pretty big money in golf, right? Because he was very, very physically talented, right? and he did well, won 17 times. But Tiger has won, if you include international events, like 70 sometimes already and 14 majors, and he's very, very close. They think by the year 2011, he'll go over $1 billion in net worth. Okay, so what's the difference? Well, the difference is his focus on the fundamentals, which his short game is pitching, chipping, and putting. He is the best ever at those things. He's not the best driver of the ball, but he's definitely the best at those things, right? So what the difference when he's in the heat of a competition, does he hope he's going to be able to make that putt, or hope he's going to be able to chip that close, or hope? No, he's done it so much that he knows he has a supreme confidence that he can pull the shot off. Whereas a Freddie Couples might get nervous and hope that he pulls it off. See the difference between hoping and knowing? It's gigantic. Okay? Exactly, because of the constant repetition of doing things over and over, which is what nobody ever does. That's the thing that allows you to be great, right? So when I'm talking about these 7 fundamentals, I want you to think of them in terms of that and put it into context, because the thing is, you have a lot of people that are pretty good in your businesses, but if you are objective and honest, you couldn't tell. If I hooked you up to a lie detector test, you probably don't have anybody that's great. Or maybe one, if that, okay? So then how are these people supposed to be great RVPs when they're only good? How's that supposed to happen? By magic? It's not going to happen, right? You increase the probability of people winning big by making sure they know what the heck it is they're doing, okay? And they know how to do it really, really well. It's common sense. If you've been an athlete, you know what I'm saying is true, okay? This is not something, look, Rick talked about this. The difference between Rick and I, Rick doesn't ever practice golf. I practice all the time. I practiced yesterday. I had a great practice session yesterday, right? And so what ends up happening, I work on my short game. I probably spent an hour and a half working on chipping, putting, bunker shots yesterday, just by myself, put my radio headset on, and I'm just practicing. Like I just practiced for probably an hour and a half just on that. Practiced for about 3 hours yesterday, right? Now, Rick doesn't practice, so when he gets on a chip, his whole thing is, oh man, I hope I don't stub it. I hope I don't hit it over the green. Right? That's what he's thinking about, though. Really, I'm just pointing that out. So then what he ends up doing is using a putter off the green because it's safer as opposed to the right club, only because he's afraid of messing up. And he's a good golfer, okay? So I'm not making fun. I'm pointing something out. The difference is when I get up, I think I can hit the chip because I worked on this stuff, or the pitch shot. He doesn't. And the difference is he doesn't work on it, I do. I'm not physically better than him, right? He can be great too, but he doesn't work on that stuff. So people are in Primerica hoping to recruit great people, hoping to develop great people, but they're not great. You can't teach what you don't know. You can't do it. You cannot teach what you don't know. The problem is we have a lot of people that don't know and they're trying to teach. Hello? That doesn't make any sense, okay? Think about it, okay? Okay, so the key here is mastering, not just getting good, but being great. I wrote, good is the enemy of great. Becoming great is what allows you to earn big money. No one's going to pay you big money to be good, but they will if you become great. So basically, you need to work on it. So these are the 7 fundamentals. I have them like 1, 2, 3. And then what I did, I've talked about this enough lately, and I just said, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to really try to articulate what I mean by these things so that people have a better understanding. So you can have a copy of this. I would recommend, all right, that you actually have some sort of a training program where you actually teach these things. You can't teach them all in one day, right? You can't do that, but you teach 2 and then 2 and then 2 or something like that, where you're constantly covering this stuff over and over and over again, because like you just saw, he's in the last month, he's had 100 recruits basically, right? So you're always having all these new people coming in. These fundamentals are constant. They never go away. You've got to be going over and over and over and over and over this stuff all the time. The reason most people don't like to do it because it's boring. It's boring for you that you've done it 4 million times since you've been in the business. The only thing is, if you do it, you'll get really rich. Okay? So you got to think about it like that. So yeah, it's boring to me too, but I equate teaching this stuff and talking about the same thing over and over with me becoming wealthy, as opposed to getting bored with it, right? In Primerica, and the problem too is if you're a type A or whatever, you get really bored with doing stuff that's repetitious, except that by not doing it, it's cost you a fortune because you got a bunch of people that are okay or good at best, but they're not great. So if they're not great, how are they going to attract great people? How are they going to recruit Rick Susie? There's not very many people that could have recruited Rick Susie but me, right? He didn't follow me because I was okay at the business, right? Right? He followed me because I was great at the business. And the same thing's true with you guys that are recruiting. You know, there's tons of people that if you would have recruited them, if you would have sat down and interviewed them, you'd have recruited them, although your person that did it couldn't, right? You know that's true, right? Because you're better than they are, right? So the key is how do you get them to be like you so that you have a bunch of yous everywhere, right? That's the thing you have to think about. When I got involved in the business, right, I was good already because I did the Hopkins thing, which I'll talk about and stuff. You know, I had worked on myself like crazy, which is abnormal. I understand that, but I was really good. So I wasn't worried about making sales and stuff. I was just looking for people that were motivated, that would listen to me, that would follow my direction, that I could coach, that would be coachable. And then I recruited the crap out of them. And then I taught them what to do, how to do it. Right? What you want is a bunch of people that are out there, you know, that know what they're doing, right? Like you do. Okay, so let's take the first, master prospecting. Guess what? All of you in here are good at prospecting. Some of you are probably better than others. Most of you don't do it very much. I know that. It's obvious because you're not recruiting a lot of people. But the most important thing that you guys should be doing all the time is prospecting. That's what you should be doing. So I said, one common thing all the greats in Primerica have is they are relentless prospectors. Always looking for great people to add to their teams. You know, so that's my logo, right? Hector LaMarque, always looking for great people. That's my thought. Always looking for great people, right? Always looking for great people to add to their teams and developing them into independent leaders. The absolute best way to prospect, and I put this here, is first, your hot, warm, and cool market. So if you're getting involved, the best place to prospect, right? If I recruit, you know, Gary, I want to get his list and go talk to his hot market, then his warm market, then his cool market. That's the very best market for him if he's new to prospect in. It doesn't make sense for him to start going to malls and, you know, Target and all that stuff. That's retarded, right? He's got a market. That's the best place for him to prospect in, right? In that market, okay? So the second best place is a warm and then cool. And then the third best place is, I wrote, second best place is the hot market. And then warm market, and then cool market. Those are the three. And then the third best is recruiting as you go. That's prospecting, which you guys know how to do that. You know, and you got to teach that too, because your people need to know the proper way to approach people or to talk to people or ask questions. They just need to know what to do the way that works. You guys all know how to do that. I don't need to teach you how to do that, but you need to teach them how to do that. They need to know how to do that so that when they're not with you and they're out and they run into somebody, they have an approach. They know what to say to people to garner some interest and get people to give them their name and number and maybe meet with them. I mean, the more people that know how to do that like you, if you had 20 or 30 or 40 people in your base shop that were great, as good at prospecting as you were, your numbers would go crazy because you'd have so many more appointments, so many more recruits. So you need to pay attention to that. You got to teach people how to prospect. So there's no shortage of prospecting how-tos in Primerica. The LaMarque system has it on. And then there's a bunch of other CDs that you can get through Primerica online on prospecting, right? There's no shortage of that. If you have a certain way you like to do it that you teach, well, teach that. But the bottom line is teach something on how to do it. So you've got, you know, if you're having 50 people show up to your meeting, imagine having 50 people prospecting every day, right? As they're going about their day. Well, there you go. That's going to turn into something, right? Something good's going to happen from that. The key is to be disciplined at prospecting, making it part of the way you go through every day. What happens to most people is that they do it when things start slowing down. They go, oh my God, I better start prospecting. Instead of just doing it all the time, it's something they do when they get in a panic about their income going down or something, right? Instead of making it part of the way they operate on a daily basis, it's like an afterthought. It can't be an afterthought because it's the most important thing that you should be doing. It's the number one thing that you have to teach people. Their warm market, their hot market, warm market, cool. That's the first one. But you've got to teach how do they talk to the people? How do they call them? How do they set those appointments, right? That's it. Then you have to have your antenna up, right? Looking for people who'd be interested in making more money, owning their business, becoming free, learning how to deal, how do they deal with what's going on with the gas prices and all the stuff that Gary talked about earlier, right? I mean, you know, some approach to do that, right? So my focus every day is I decided that from the time I decided to go full time, at that point right there, All I thought about was finding the right people to build a business with, and you have to be clear about what you're looking for. So what I did, and you have all this information, but it's worth repeating because I was talking to one of my guys. I talked to this one guy. He gave me, he was doing the answer, and he gave me his affirmations, what he's affirming, and one of them was, he said, "I want to buy a new SUV for my wife." So I call him back, right? I said, "What the hell does this mean? I want to buy an SUV. Do you want a Hyundai? You want a Mercedes? What model do you want? Do you want one that seats 6 people or 9 people or what? I mean, what do you want exactly? And what make and model and what color and how big is the engine and what color's the interior and what extras are you going to have on it? I mean, this is too ambiguous, So if you do this, God's going to send you whatever, right? It's like going into a restaurant and sitting down and he goes, "Well, what would you like?" And you go, "I don't know." Well, that's not going to work. Okay. When, if we go to a restaurant, you say, "I like a prime rib, medium rare, more on the rare side. I like a Caesar salad with light dressing. And I would like a glass of your best Cabernet. That's what I want." Now that's pretty damn specific, right? Guess what I'm probably going to get? Prime rib, that and that. But if I say I'd like some steak, well, what do you want? A buffalo steak, an ostrich steak, what kind of steak? So what's problem for most people is they're so ambiguous about what they want. They're not clear. They keep getting all kinds of stuff that's not what they want because they don't know what they want, right? Most people are afraid to even ask for what they want. They think asking for things is negative. They think if I want to get rich or I want to make a lot of money, that it's a bad thing. I was talking to this guy I played golf with, is a professional golfer and didn't quite make it, but he's really good, right? And we're at Bighorn. Everybody's wealthy at Bighorn. And I said to him, "Wayne, why do you think everybody's rich here?" He goes, "I don't know. They're probably born into it or lucky." I said, "Wrong." I said, "The reason that they're rich is because they all wanted to be rich. You don't get rich on accident, okay? I mean, it doesn't work that way. Have you noticed that yet? Okay? It's because they wanted to be rich, and then they put all their energy on becoming rich, and that's why they're rich. Daniel wants to be rich, right, Daniel? And are you like, you think about it every 4th month? No, every damn day you think about it, right? You watch your income, you track what your business is doing. You're on top of that, man. When you leave me messages, man, I know that you're on top of it, right? You have a very clear definition of what rich is, and you are focused on doing it. And you don't give a crap what anybody thinks about it, right? That was me. I've always wanted to be wealthy, right? I knew exactly where I wanted to live. I knew exactly the kind of lifestyle I wanted to lead. I knew exactly. It wasn't like I'd like to have a nice house at the beach. Where at the beach? What beach? Right? I mean, there's a lot of different beaches, right? So where exactly? The point I'm making is most people are totally ambiguous about what they want. So it's hard for you to get what you're not clear about. You've got to be clear, all right? Really, really clear. So when you're looking for people in Primerica, you got to be clear about that too, right? You got to be clear. If you think of it, I have my wall of, and all you guys are on that $100,000 earners, and if Rick has his $500,000 earner wall, right? What is really obvious about that wall? When you look at that wall, if you've been in my office, you've seen it. What is the one thing that strikes you as like very, very common amongst the group? They're like 98% couples. I mean, there are a couple of single, like Debbie Trujillo and who else? I can't even think of anybody else, right? I mean, everybody is married with a spouse, right? So, what do you think you should be focusing on? Couples, okay? Now, does that mean single people can't do Primerica? Of course not. They can do it, and lots of them have, okay? But that shouldn't be your focus. I think I've always kind of known what I want. So like when I want something, I have this thing about me that when I want something, I really zero in on it and I kind of block everything out. I did it in sports. I've always done that. Yeah, I'm sure it's a gift, but it's something that you could learn how to do. The point is, if you're not aware of it, right? What I'm trying to do right now is make you aware of it. Okay. Oh yeah, absolutely. I've refined it. Yes. Yes. Exactly. I've worked on it. Yeah, no, there's doubt about it. I've really, really worked on it. I mean, I've read so much stuff. I mean, I literally read 12, 1,300 books on stuff like this over the last 30 years. Okay. So it's not like I just kind of casually did this. I mean, I've really put a lot of effort in it. And then I've learned about how to set goals. How many books I've read about goal setting? I don't know, like 100. I don't know, something like that. Right. So, right. But they don't know how, but they don't know about how to go about getting that. Yeah. Yeah, well, I think there's a lot of people that do that, but most people, truthfully, don't think that's possible for them. Okay, they that sounds good, but nobody really thinks that's possible, right? Is that they don't think they can get what it is that they want. So that there's a lot of doubt and fear about, now, it's good for Neil. Neil can speak, or Neil's not whatever. People are using, like a lot of you go, yeah, if I was as good of a speaker as Gary Cornigan, I could do that too. But you use that kind of thought process. You may not say it, verbalize it, but you probably think things like that, right? So what the key for us is to get people to start believing that it's possible for them to have those kinds of. Nobody's ever going to attempt something they don't think they can do. It doesn't make sense to attempt anything that you don't think you have the potential to have success at. You know, I don't play cards. I know you're great at cards, right? I don't play cards because I'm not any good at it, and I don't want to lose money and look stupid. You know what I'm saying? But you want to play golf, right? I'll get. See, people always ask, "You live in Vegas? Do you gamble?" I said, "I don't gamble in casinos, but I gamble on a golf course every day. I gamble every day playing golf. I always gamble. I never play golf without gambling, right? I love that. That's a great thought process, right? Very good. So let me make sure I got this right. You're born great, but the world makes you average, teaches you to be average. So everything you focus on with being great, you're going to become great, right? Is that basically it? I agree with that. Totally, totally agree with that. And it doesn't matter. Oh, they keep all the way up. So what they're doing is they basically indoctrinate you into thinking the right way so that you can potentially have more success, right? Because look, I look at my situation, how I grew up, and my story, fifth of seven kids, 1,000 square foot house. My father was a Mexican immigrant, blah, 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 all that stuff, right? But the truth is, for me to have the kind of results I've had doesn't make any sense. Makes no sense. It's totally irrational for me to come where I came from and to build the business I built and to accumulate the wealth that I've accumulated. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. The only explanation, folks, is I completely transformed my thought process relative to everybody else that I grew up around. My way I think, hey, I'm not better than my brothers or sisters. I'm not better than my cousins and aunts and uncles. I'm not. Except I think way differently than them. Every time we get around for holidays and I hear people talk, I'm going, if they only knew, if they only knew that what they're saying is why they're struggling and why they don't do better. They don't even know it. They're not aware of that. They're creating it with the way that because when you hear people speak, you can instantly know what they're thinking. That's the way you know what people are thinking. So when I hear people speak, I can pretty much in 10, 15 minutes figure out why you're doing what you're doing because of the questions you ask and the things you talk about. I go, man, no wonder they're not. It's easy for me to see that because most people have such a low level of awareness. They're constantly getting in their own way. They don't even know it. They don't know that they're doing that. Okay, so our job as a leader is to raise people's awareness. That's what your job is. Because when you come into Primerica, I mean, you knew about architecture, right? But what did you know about recruiting, training, and building salespeople? Not a damn thing, nothing. Your level of awareness relative to building a sales force was like this, right? And your awareness about being an architect was really high. So you had to go from not knowing to knowing, which has allowed you to, you're like, what, $500,000 a year? I don't know what your income is, but it's around there, right? I mean, so with potential to make a lot more. But the bottom line is because you raise your awareness relative to Primerica. Now you have a very high level awareness, right? Relative to a person that's coming in right now. What caused that? You caused that. You made a focused attention to learn about how this thing works and how to talk about it and how to explain it and how to teach it and all that, right? Yeah, because if I was talking to you, I would say, I mean, if you could learn how to be an architect and pass the exams, because I know they're not easy, right? But they're really challenging to be an architect or an engineer or whatever. I mean, that's a lot of schooling and pass those exams to be able to get your license and practice is not an easy thing. If you could do that, Primerica is a piece of cake. This is a really, really simple business relative to that. And let me show you what I mean. And then I would go through detail why this is simple and why this makes sense and how it's easy and how somebody as bright as you could dominate in this thing if you get focused and you do this thing. But I would make sure they saw and they understood how simple it was. That's how I would recruit you, right? And I would say, and I ask you the question. Now, if all these other people who don't have near the skill level or education or background that you have are now making $300, $500, $1 million a year or more, why couldn't you do it? I'd ask that question. Why couldn't you do it? Just ask the question, and then it'd have to go, well, I guess I could. Well, if you apply yourself, you can. The good news is, I mean, you're doing well, making 6 figures what you're doing, but you're worth 10 times that. Are you kidding me? For you to settle for 100 grand when you can make 10 times that month, to me, makes no sense. Does it make any sense to you? Can you think of any reason why you wouldn't go ahead and get involved and let me help you do this? I mean, that's how I would talk to a person like that. I wouldn't let him tell me no, or I wouldn't be intimidated because he has an engineering background or some stupid. That's ridiculous. Because all those businesses, you can't make any real money at them, right? Because you get paid on your personal little efforts, and you can't do that much by yourself, right? Okay, so let's look at what they are, right? This is the perfect person, right? They're married, right? They're a homeowner. Their age, I think optimum is 25 to 35. Does that mean we don't recruit 22-year-olds or 46-year-olds? Of course not. I'm just saying if I'm focusing and I'm trying to recruit the optimum person, right? You got to know what the optimum person is, right? The optimum person is a 25 to 35-year-old, right? Why is that? Why that age? Because those people are still really motivated and they're not tainted yet, right? They haven't given up. When they start getting in their late 30s and 40s, they start thinking, pretty much my life's over. This is what I'm going to do. Now, they don't say that, but that's what they're feeling. Subconsciously, they resign themselves to their station in life, and to get them to make changes is not easy. To get a 26, 7-year-old to make changes is a piece of cake. They're totally coachable. They'll do whatever you tell them to do. I was just talking to this kid in my base shop, Jose Daniels. This kid is the most coachable kid I can ever remember recruiting and bringing. Is incredible. He does friggin' everything I tell him to do, man. And you know what? Every time I talk to him, I said, Jose, man, you are going to be a friggin' superstar, dude. I'm telling you, I'm going to commit to you. I'm going to help you every step of the way. I mean, whenever you need me, just call me. I mean, because I believe in you. You do everything I tell you to do. Because you do that, you're going to be a superstar. There's no doubt in my mind. Look how much better you've gotten just in the last 6 months. It's been amazing, the progress you've made. Every time I talk to you, you sound better and better and sharper and more professional. And you're closing sales that, man, I would have a tough time closing, man. I am so impressed by you. You are an amazing young man, and I can't wait to help you make you a multimillionaire. So I told him this morning. That's the way I talk to people like that, right? What do you think he does? Now he gets depressed and he curls up in his closet? No, he can't wait to go talk to somebody now, right? He's excited, right? So you got to infuse that in people like crazy. Talk to them that way. You have a person that's coachable, that has a potential superstar. You got to tell them constantly how good they are, constantly what's right with them. Every little progress they make, you got to make it a big deal. You got to make them feel so special. You got to make them, you want people to come back and want to be around you. That's the way you get them to want to come around you. That's the way they can't wait to be around you, right? Because you make them feel so damn good about themselves whenever they talk to you, whenever they are around you, they can't wait to be around you. That is a gigantic part of building people up and building a team and getting him to do more. And I'll say to him, I said, look, man, I want you to just pay attention how good you've gotten here in the last year and a half since you've been here. And I want you to visualize another year and a half or 2 years or 3 years, how good you're going to be and what your life's going to be like and what your income's going to be like, because you're going to be really huge. I want you to think about that. All this work you're doing, is it perfect right now? Of course not, but you're making so much progress. It's amazing. You're a 1 in a million, dude. I'm saying stuff like this to them all the time, right? So what I'm trying to do is inspire him to do more and more of that personal development and work on himself that he's doing, because he really is making that kind of progress. I'm not bull crapping him, right? I'm totally telling him this is the truth. I'm telling him the truth, but I'm not just thinking it. I'm telling him. See, a lot of you see people do it and you think, oh, that's pretty good, but you don't tell them. You have to tell them all the time. Kind of like your wife. Does she ever ask you, do you love me, honey? That ever happen to any of you? Or am I the only one that happens to, right? How many times did my wife asks me that 10 times a day, right? I mean, of course I do. I love you. You're the best thing ever, right? I mean, because they can't hear it enough, right? There's no women, am I right in saying that? Can you hear that enough? You cannot hear that enough, right, Karma? I mean, you're right. You love it, right? I mean, right, it's got to be at least 50, right? But the point I'm making, that's not just women, that's men too. That's all of us. That's the human condition, is the need to feel important and worthy, and that, you know what I mean? Because people are going to do more when they start feeling good about themselves than when they're not feeling good about themselves. I feel fantastic. It makes me feel good to do that. I'm always looking for what people are doing right. I'm looking for any excuse to make them feel good about themselves. That's been my way of operating since I started this thing. I look for any excuse to make them feel good about themselves, right? That's what I do, because it's easy to find what's wrong with people. Any idiot can do that, right? I mean, that's easy to do, right? But to find things that you like about people and you like what they're doing, that's a little more challenging. And the reality is, in this world, very few people are encouraging and tell you what's right with you. It doesn't happen very often, right? It's rare. I mean, just think of, when was the last time you got a really fantastic thank you card? It doesn't happen that often unless you're really helping a lot of people, right? I mean, you don't get stuff like that. It's unusual, right? And people just do more when you do that. I mean, even I have people, I moved into a new place and we have workers in there every day and trying to iron out all the little details of what, and so the guys that come in are really, there's a few guys that come in and are doing work on our play. They're really great guys. And one guy, Scott, I said, Scott, you know what? You are awesome at what you do, man. I like the fact that you just get things done, and your attitude about it's fantastic. And I just, I just think your focus on doing things correctly just really impresses me. And I just want to let you know, I think, I could see why you're working. You have a lot of work because you're really, really good at what you do. So what's he going to do now in my house? Okay. Now, I didn't make that up. That's the truth. I was just telling him, I was articulating the truth about him. But does that inclines him to want to do a better job in my house, right? So if you just ignore him, you treat him like the help, right? Which is what most people do. That's stupid, right? What you do is you make people feel special. That's got to be your number one thing. If you're going to develop a huge team, a big team that wants to be around you, you've got to do that constantly. You got to be all the time doing it. So looking for the optimum age, 25 to 35, and competitiveness is something that I really, really look at. If I'm trying to recruit somebody, I want to know that this person is competitive, right? You ask questions. Have you ever, are you consider yourself a competitive person? Yeah. Do you have any examples of you being competitive? Great. I mean, if you're competitive and you get involved in Primerica, you are going to be incredible, because the competitive people just dominate our company, man. They just get things done, man. And one of the things I've always told people is, what I liked about Primerica what I like about it so much is I was an athlete. I played sports. I in high school and college, and I always was competing. I'm a competitor, right? And after I graduated from college, right, there was no more competition. There was nothing to do anymore. I didn't have any competition. I went to work, and there's some competition. But when I got back in Primerica, you know what I liked about it? The leaders bulletin. The leaders bulletin is, for somebody like me, is phenomenal, right? Because when I look at the leaders bulletin, I just see, who am I going to beat next? Who am I going to beat next? Oh, I got him, scratch him off. Next one, got him, right? Now, I don't say anything, but believe me, you're with me, and you could watch me. I'm competitive, okay? I don't like losing. If I lose, I don't say anything. I just go back to work again. But I am competitive. And anybody who does well here, you guys that are doing well here, you are competitive people, right? Am I right? Neil, you competitive? Hell yeah, you're competitive, right? You're competitive. You're competitive, right? You guys are competitive. There ain't no doubt about that. I know Daniel's competitive, right? Rick Susie is the ultimate competitor, right? He can't stand losing 10 cents to anybody, right? I mean, he'll start talking crap and everything to not lose, right? But that's why he's done so well, right? Because he can't stand losing. And if you're competitive, you have a gigantic edge on everybody, right? Why is that? Because when you're a competitor, you will do stuff that other people won't do just so you don't lose. You'll make more calls, you'll do more of everything. And when you don't care about winning or losing, those extra things that you need to do to win, you won't do them. You just won't do them. Oh, absolutely. Even when you lose, the competitors go, that ain't happening again. And then they go back to the drawing board. They figure out where they have a weakness, what they got to shore up, and they'll get back on it and go. I was talking to somebody on the way in. I said, you know what the awesome thing about Primerica is every month you get to reinvent yourself. Even if you had the worst month ever last month, you just totally sucked. Guess what? August is a new month, and you get to start over again and reinvent yourself. And it doesn't matter what happened last month or 6 months ago or a year ago. It just doesn't matter because this month gives you a chance to start over again and reinvent yourself. There's a lot of people that have done that. I mean, look at what Whittle's done. Whittle, to me, is one of the. I mean, look at it. He's like in his late 50s. He's like 58 years old or something. I don't know how old he is, but he's in great shape. He is a competitor. You think he's a competitor? Absolutely. But what he's done, I look at the numbers. Do you know that his whole hierarchy does about a third of what my hierarchy does? Do you guys know that? I mean, if I do, like this month, we probably did close to 2 million. He did about 600,000 in his hierarchy, in his whole hierarchy. And I did like 2 million. And the beautiful thing about Primerica is that all the money's at base and first, and he's number one in through first, and he's got a solid base shop, and his income's catching up to what mine is. I think he might have beat me this month in income wise, even though I do 3 times the production he does. Right? You know what? How awesome that is about Primerica? I'm not complaining about that. It just shows you where are you supposed to pay attention? You're basing your first, because you could be doing a third of what somebody else is doing and still beat them if you're basing first or kicking butt. That's where all the money's at. God bless him. God, I think that's awesome that he's doing that. But that shows you how awesome Primerica is. And when you're a competitor, it doesn't matter what your age is, right? Your age doesn't matter if you're competitive. And then the next thing is they have kids. Why kids? Because when people have kids, they're much more motivated to get things done because they have little rugrats that they want to take care of, right? And they want to, you guys that have kids, you want them to have a better life than you? Absolutely. If you had grandkids like me, I'm so glad I did what I did. My little Frankie Jane is going to be the most spoiled little girl in the history of the planet, okay? I can't wait to do that. We're already taking her to Puerto Vallarta for, a week, and took her to Hawaii, and, and there, she's going to have the most incredible, her little summer jaunts are going to be, Europe and Hawaii and all that, right? She's not going to the plunge, right? For little vacation. She's going to, you know what I'm saying? She's going to have everything. That's just the way it is, bottom line, right? And I can't wait to do that. It's exciting to do that. She's going to go to private schools because I'm paying for it. I don't care if I'm going to pay for it. I'm going to make sure she's got the best education. She's going to have everything, right? That's awesome. And you guys have things like people in your life that you want to do that too as well, right? Don't you want to? You have 2 beautiful children. You want them to have the best, right? You want them to grow up in South Central like you did? No, of course not, right? You want more. So kids are important. They motivate us. And then 5, income, 40,000 plus per year or more combined income. People that make no money don't do Primerica. That doesn't mean you can't recruit. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if the optimum is people that are doing semi-okay when they get started. If they're struggling when they get started, the chances of them doing something and the chances of them having any credibility to even put you in front of anybody is so low, it's a waste of time in most cases, okay? I don't want to say don't recruit them, but I'm just saying pay attention, okay? Same thing is true that high income people don't do well here either, okay? They're making 200, 300,000 a year. Chances of them doing this, it happens every now and then, but it's not very good odds, okay? So that middle income is the people that end up doing the best, okay? And then living in the area 2 years or longer. You want people to live here so that they have a warm market. They could take you to go see somebody, right? If I recruit you and you have no warm market, what the hell do I need you for, right? I mean, what do I need you for? You can't put me in front of anybody. I'm going to go prospect and find you people. If I'm going to do that, I'm going to find them for myself. Why would I find them for you? That's idiotic, right? I'm not going to do that, right? So they've got to have a warm market, somebody they know, people they've been around the area a while or longer, right? So like I wrote, obviously everyone you meet won't meet these criteria. This is the ideal, and you should shoot for the ideal 80+% of the time. I'm not saying that those aren't exceptions. There are. I'm just saying 80% of your energy should be in that direction, okay? And you've got to leave some room for some from exceptions from time to time, but you shouldn't be focused in that area, okay? If you want to accelerate your success and have less frustration build your business, you'll focus 80% of your energy in that area. You're going to have a lot less frustration, okay? And then consistent prospecting leads to appointments, recruits, and sales, income, and ultimately success. Just do it. You don't have to like it, right? But you should learn to like it and have it be a game. Prospecting should be a game for you. Should be something you just do as a game and you don't take it too serious, but you do it all the time because all you're doing is looking for people that are looking for you, which you've heard that a million times, but it's really true, right? You're looking for people that you say the right things. They go, wow, that's what I've been thinking about. I've been wanting to do something like that, or I've been looking for a business opportunity, or I've been, right? So that's what all you're doing is fishing, right? For that, right? Turn into a game, connect. This is important. This is what I did. You need to connect prospecting to the key of getting everything you want in life, because if you master it, you will, okay? You have to connect prospecting, all those things you want. That's why getting clear about what you want is so important. If you connect prospecting with getting what you want, you're much more apt to prospect than not prospect. It's that simple. You've got to connect those two things, okay? All right, number 2, master setting appointments. Look, prospecting is number 1 because now once you prospect, you got names and numbers or people go see, you got a list from a new recruit, then you've got to master setting appointments, because having a list or having prospects and you're not any good at setting appointments doesn't do you any good. You've got your people will have many more appointments if they're really good at setting appointments than if they're not. Does that make sense? Okay, so then does it make sense you would teach that, right? You'd make sure they do it, because pretty much if you could get your base shop where you're having 100 appointments set every week, kitchen table appointments a week, you're going to have a 100-grand base shop. You're going to have a 100-grand base shop. So does it make sense that if the more you train on everybody how to set appointments and you grow the appointments, you grow everything else with that? It just comes with that. It's just part of the territory. But you've got to pay attention to it. It's not something you do every 4th quarter, right? You do constantly. So the better you get at setting appointments, assuming you master the remaining fundamentals, the faster you'll become successful. It's critical you thoroughly teach every new recruit to set appointments in their hot, warm, and cool market. And what you do is sit down with them. When I see a lot of recruits and then not a lot of production, what I know for sure that's happening is there's no method of sitting down with the new recruits and teaching them how to set appointments and get into their warm market. It's hodgepodge. It's not a system. And you've got to have a system to do that. So everybody does the same thing. When they recruit people, they sit down, they get the list, they go through their however you teach setting appointments, you teach them how to do that. You get the new recruit comfortable with the process, because if the new recruit's not comfortable with the appointment setting process, guess what they won't do? They won't set them. They're not setting them. Why do recruits not set appointments? Because they don't feel comfortable doing it. They're afraid of being rejected, and they don't want to appear like they're trying to sell things and use their friends to sell things and make money. That's why people don't do it, okay? So what you got to do is you've got to make sure they know how to do it, and you explain what's going to happen on the appointment. What's going to happen when you get there? You got to make sure the new recruit knows what's going to happen. If they think in any way, shape, or form they might be embarrassed, or you might come across pushy, or something negative is going to happen, they're going to avoid setting those appointments. They're going to come up with excuses, right? Which you already have experienced multiple times, I'm sure, in your careers, all right? Okay, so the better you get at setting appointments, the better your new recruiters at setting appointments, the more likely they will actually set them. Fear of not knowing how to set appointments inhibits new recruits from setting them. If they feel prepared and feel they know what they're doing regarding setting appointments, the more likely they will set them. People avoid anything they feel inept at. So the better you train them how to do it, the more likely they'll do it. It's that simple, right? If I asked you guys, who doesn't play golf here? Okay, most of you don't play golf. If I said to you, hey, listen, I need you to be my partner in this best ball tournament, and we're going to be playing a bunch of scratch players, how would you feel about doing that? You'd be going, I can't do that. I can't do that. Why can't you do it? Because you don't know how to do it. That's why, and you don't want to get embarrassed. You don't want to look stupid. You don't want to whatever, right? All these thoughts would enter your head about why you want to avoid doing that. Same thing on setting appointments. It's exactly the same thing that happens, okay? All right, if you want your numbers to really take off, make sure not only your new recruits are great at setting appointments, but everyone who appears to be serious about building their business. So you've got a bunch of people that are showing up to your meetings right now that you think know how to set appointments, that they don't know how to set appointments. Guaranteed, okay? So don't assume they know what they're doing. Even if they're setting appointments every now and then, people, it's kind of like even a blind pig finds an acorn every now and then. That's what happens to these people, right? But if they get good, they could do a lot more, right? They could do much, much more. Number 3, master presenting, all right? You got to master presenting. The presentation, look, everybody in here has a different presentation. I guarantee if I sat all of you down and we had a big table and put you along, I would look at your presenting materials. Every one of you would have a different thing going on. I guarantee it, all right? And that's not a problem. It's not a problem, except that the presentation that you do have has to be really simple and clear, all right? Whatever it is that you do have, it's got to be simple and clear. The more information you have, the worse it is, okay? The worse it is for a new person is you just scare people, right? So the presentation, it has to be a tie-down oriented presentation where you ask questions like, if we could, like if you're showing the SMART. Now, let me ask you a question, Mark. When we sit down with you, Mark and Sue, if we were, on this loan situation I just showed you right now, if we were to look at your situation and it resembled this and we were able to approximate this kind of result with your current loan situation, is there any reason why you wouldn't go ahead and submit a loan and see if we could do that for you here tonight? Okay, good. So that's a tie-down. You tie them down all the way through the presentation on everything so that at the end, it's just a matter of going forward. So, but you know what? Your new recruits don't know how to do that. You got to teach them how to do that, right? So that their presentation looks like your presentation. I don't know what your closing ratio is, but I guarantee you it's got to be in the 80 to 100% range. What if everybody in your base actually did it like you? What would happen? What would happen with those 100 recruits you had in the last 60 days? Craziness would happen, right? Kinds of stuff would happen, right?